Fodovich, perhaps you should abstain from this one.
I will abstain. I'm gonna do the right thing according to the law. The law says I must, I will.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? New business item number 2 is withdrawn. And that takes us to the end of new business items. Council updates. Does staff have anything for council? Mary? Deb? Mike? Nobody wants to follow this show tonight, do they? Is Brian over there? No, he's not. Chief, I mean, you're good, not Chief, Captain.
No, sir.
Okay. Any estimates on the crowd at the festival on the trails over the weekend?
We would put probably around 6,000 or 7,000 people on Saturday night.
Well, fantastic. Okay. Laura? City Attorney? No? Cheryl? No? Okay. Does council have anything for staff?
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
One of the things to Cheryl or Mary, we've talked about periodically looking at staff salaries compared to a benchmark of the area. I think it's the March study. I would like to, during an upcoming budget session, see those comparisons and understand where we lie salary-wise, and also as part of that discussion, I would like us to have a conversation, more of a policy discussion regarding going forward where we would like to be. So for instance, if we're 30% off in certain things, I'd like us to establish some sort of policy that says we will not fall below 15% of what the March study shows, so that we can start driving some salary actions as required for our employees, which I think we all deem is important as far as towards building a high-performance team.
Other people feel the need for
Yeah.
such a study?
Yeah, I was actually discussing this with Cheryl, and it definitely makes a lot of sense. Christina, you and I are correct. I think are on the same page on that. Our high performers are the ones that are the greatest disparity is, and we cannot afford to lose our high performers. I think I said it in the meeting the other day that we don't want to be a farm system for the rest of Johnson County, and unfortunately we've been that in a lot of positions in this organization. I do have a little bit of a caution though, as we're looking at salary evening or leveling, that obviously there's some salary positions that are way out of whack. I mean, you're talking 28 to 30%. I don't think we can look at 15% jumps in 1 year. I don't think that's possible. I think that we would probably want to put this in a phased approach over a 2 to 3 year approach, so that we can have as little impact on the budget as possible, while at the same time providing an incentive for these individuals not to leave our city. We've had a lot of turnover in a lot of departments over the last few years. I want to stem the tide on that, but I also am sensitive to the fact that we only have so much money in the city, and we have to be able to manage it in an effective manner.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Keith? Larry? Okay. Did you have something else, Christy?
Yeah, I actually have 2 more things. Kind of along that same line, and I talked to Cheryl and Mary about this today, but just for the rest of council, I would also like to see us do an internal employee survey that evaluates, much like we saw with the citizen survey, but more geared toward internal, potentially identify some issues that may need to be addressed, as well as kind of what's important and maybe some other ways other than salary increases that employees find valuable to their job.
Employee surveys are also good ways to identify deficiencies that might not make it up the chain of command as well. So, anybody have an issue with looking at that?
The last thing is, have talked about the trailer thing and wanting to relook at that. We talked about it at the end of the last meeting. Is there any thoughts on when we'll be able to see some assessment of that on an upcoming agenda?
I'm just waiting for direction, if there's a desire to, present something in a work session. I think, you know, one of the thoughts I have is, we are gonna be going through comprehensive plan and looking at some of the, you know, the vision for the community, and this issue does kind of relate to that. And so it might be wise to wait until the comprehensive plan is considered. But I just await direction from, city administrator.
It was in the Friday,
Yes.
memo that we sent out, and we've not received any, the minute memo.
Right.
And we've not received any feedback that we need to do anything with it, anything else with it.
Yeah, I think what they need is direction on what it is that we want looked at.
Right.
Maybe a comparison between us and other municipalities, things of that nature. Yeah, we gotta give them something, not just,
Well, I
not
mean,
just point them in the
you have the
direction.
email that I sent with my opinion, right? That basically said, I think if something's parked on blacktop, it looks a lot better than parking in the side of the yard. So, I mean, that's kind of my opinion, but I guess if we wanna do some comparisons and then bring those back, that's great.
Well, I mean, RVs are part of our community. It's not like, I mean, as long as it's taken care of in a manner that's consistent with how you would treat a recreational vehicle, you know, on your driveway, I don't see a reason why you would want to pursue code enforcement action on that individual. Not, you know, any individual, it doesn't necessarily matter, include the person in the room here who's had that issue, but just, you know.
Well, I do think we're gonna need to get to a point where we've got a
Yep.
clearer idea of what it is that we want looked at. I understand your point, and
Yeah.
Steve, I'm understanding yours as well.
I would actually agree with that. I think if it's well maintained, it would be better to be parked in the driveway than on the side of the yard.
But-
I would agree with that, but there might be other items that need to be looked at too, not just that one.
Were we actually looking at the potential of doing a code review?
Yes,
I mean, as part of our economic, I know you talked about it in budget.
Two things. As part of the budget presentation, we are requesting to do a total code rewrite, because we'll need to do that based on the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
But, as a part of that, and kind of as a, precursor to that, we really need to look at how we might streamline our code, particularly with economic development being our number one priority. So we are looking at that, and we have asked the council to fund the code update. The minute memo included what the current regulations are, and I guess the question becomes, is it something you'd like to look at prior to that, or if you want to look at that as part of our code amendment, or would you like to have a workshop or have additional information other than what's in the Friday minute memo on it?
I think a workshop would be, it would behoove us to have a workshop on some of these low-hanging fruit and
Okay.
urgent issues. Understanding, I know that the request was for 2015, I think that we could find some, you know, some definite areas that we could pursue even this year. And this very well could be one of them. I'm just throwing it out there.
There are
I
some
think that
areas.
and this is stuff that wouldn't necessarily require, you know, a large budget authority to undertake. So I would say it would be a good idea for us to have that
Okay.
workshop.
And I think, Mike, when we talked, you said you had some thoughts on just some things, like the trash can. I mean, you have some thoughts and exposure to things that maybe people often complain about getting complaints on, but I'd be interested in your perspective on some of the things that you're hearing as well.
Beyond trailers.
Beyond trailers.
I think the code enforcement, we have a lot of, issues, property maintenance that could be difficult for us to enforce it proactively.